Hey, what's up? What's up? Joe in Vegas here. Another review. Magic. Whoosh. Illusionist. That's what we did this weekend. We went to go see the new David Blaine residency at Resort World. David Blaine, I'm sure you know if you're listening to this, arguably one of the biggest magicians slash illusionists slash creepy motherfuckers on the planet. He's been like this for a while. He got big doing the street magic. He had these specials on TV and just was a whole new wave of magic. He just blew that old Siegfried and Roy, David Copperfield magician, cheesy lions, glitter suits, big hair, blew all that out of the water and made magic rock and roll. I guess that's a good way to describe it. And just rose to immediate fame, and then had Chris Angel and those type of guys follow suit. But David Blaine was definitely amazing tricks, amazing creepiness, feats of physical stamina, like being buried alive and stuff like that, that were specials. These were primetime specials. So he really built himself. So shocking it took this long to get a residency in Vegas, but he started one this weekend. This was opening weekend. I think it's running through December, 2-3 times a month, and we went last night. Whew. So I'm going to start by saying this. When you live in Vegas, every single weekend, for sure, Friday night, Saturday night, and a handful of days during the week, there are multiple amazing shows to go see. Multiple. And it gets hard. You actually have to make a decision on saying, hey, I want to see this over this. Last night was one of the toughest decisions I made. I had tickets to David Blaine that I bought a few weeks ago, and then I got some free comp tickets to go see Shaquille O'Neal's charity event that he did last year. It's a great cause. It raises money. It's a really cool event. Maroon 5 was playing. Megan Moore, what's her name? Megan Moore? Is that her name? I don't know. John Mulaney, all these acts. You get to see a bunch of different acts in one shot. It was a private event. It was very cool. And I almost went to Shaq. I chose David Blaine just because I was really excited to see him. I've always been a fan of his, and I thought he would bring the show. He didn't. It was not okay. It was terrible. It actually was terrible. And I don't like to leave negative reviews, but if you're going to play in a city like Vegas, and you're going to ask people like me or anybody else to make a choice, I want to see you over Rod Stewart. I want to see you over Shaquille O'Neal charity event. There was like 6 things going on last night, and I chose you. I chose your fucking show to go to. You need to bring it. And he did not bring it at all. So I'm going to start with that. So if you are ever going to do a show in Vegas, I hope to God that people understand that people made a choice to see you. Anyway, to the show. From the beginning, I think it was doomed, honestly. It was the strangest entry. You know, this is David Blaine. This is creepy, spooky, you know, you don't even know if the guy is a real person, a wizard, a devil, a sorcerer. He's just he built this really strange, creepy persona. So you're walking in, and the lights are on, and everybody's coming in, and in the corner of your eye, you can see these big red balloons, like, off to the side. Big, big red. Looks like a cartoon almost. And you think in your head, oh, that's probably part of some trick down the road. But as you're walking in, and as everyone's getting in their seats, the lights are on, all of a sudden you hear a microphone go on. It's like, hi, everybody. Hello. And you look over, you're trying to figure out where it's coming from, and you see those balloons starting to raise, and it's David Blaine hanging from balloons. And again, the lights are on, people are going to their seats, people are still talking, they're on their cell phones, and he's just like, hello, everybody, oh, so good to see you. And he's floating up, and it's not anything crazy, it's held by strings. It's a bunch of guys maneuvering it with strings, and he's going up to the balcony, and he's waving at everybody, and he's like, just really weird, oh, hello. And I'm thinking, this is the worst entry. For a guy like this, I was expecting smoke and daunting music. And he comes out like prepared to be amazed, prepared to be entertained. Everybody was like, what the I didn't even think it was him. I thought it was maybe some switcheroo or some lookalike or something, because that's how David Blaine enters his residency in Vegas? Are you kidding me? Eventually, with the lights were still on, he moved across the room with the balloons and ended up on a scaffolding. And I'm thinking, well, I guess the show started. I didn't even know it started. I didn't even know what the fuck was happening. People were still going to their seats and all the lights were on. And he ended up jumping down into a whole big pile of cardboard boxes, which I believe was what he did on his big famous trick back in the day where he stood on top of a pillar for 3 days. But to me, the pillar was the trick, the jumping into the boxes. Who gives a shit? So he jumped into boxes and popped out and said, hi, everybody, and then walked through the crowd and walked on stage. And then the lights went off. And that was like, we're now a half an hour into the show, and I don't know what the fuck just happened. There was no magic. There was no anything. It was really weird and awkward. He got on stage. The lights finally dimmed. And then he did one trick that wasn't anything crazy. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't anything like nuts. And then he would turn the lights back on. He would go in the crowd. He would bring people up to stage, get to know them. The tempo was terrible. It was so slow, and the tricks at the end were cool, but I can't think of one trick that he did that had such a payoff. Like, oh my God. I saw Penn and Teller a couple weeks ago. The tempo was also terrible, and the lights also went on. But the payoffs, I thought, were much better at Penn and Teller than they were at David Blaine, which is shocking to me. He did a couple tricks. He swallowed some nails and regurgitated a ring and all these things that he did. The famous one where he sews his mouth shut, and then they pick a card and it ended up in his mouth that was sewn shut. Whoopee. I mean, great. It was cool, okay, but nothing like, holy crap, nothing like, oh my God. He did a big trick in the crowd where he had decks of cards by everybody's seat, and he made everybody pick a pile and separate them here and do this and flip it over and do that. And at the end of the day, 90% of the crowd had the same card that some girl who came on stage picked. Again, nothing that you won't see at any other magic show. There was nothing extraordinary about this. And then we were about an hour in. There was probably 3 tricks that were done already. He comes on stage, he goes, yeah, I got to prepare for the next trick, so we're going to take a little intermission, go get some drinks, go to the bathroom, go make some phone calls, respond to some texts. We'll be back soon, bye. And all the lights came on, and there was a big thing that said intermission, and I couldn't believe it. The tempo was already shit. Now you just destroyed any sort of tempo. He had, whether it's a concert or magic, you want to keep this crowd in, you want to be a Pied Piper. You want to keep this crowd engaged the whole time. I don't feel like I was engaged once. I don't think anybody was. People were just screaming shit from the crowd. Go Dave! We love you, David! Like shit. Like, I don't know, man. Intermission killed whatever momentum. We actually were thinking about leaving and running over to Shaq, see if we can catch Maroon 5, but we decided it wasn't worth it. That's how little we were enjoying that show and how disappointed I was. He came back from intermission, and then he had his big trick, which was the best part of the night. It was cool. So he basically had a big fish bowl, and he held his breath for 9 minutes. I'm debating if I should. I'm not going to ruin the little surprise of the trick, but it was one of those stamina things that he's famous for. He held his breath for 9 minutes underwater. I don't want to give the details. There's a little couple twists in there that he puts in there. And that was cool. It was cool to see that. You're trying to scratch your head, trying to figure out if this guy's real or not real, which is really his whole thing, is this guy for real or not. But then he came out of the fishbowl, and they pulled him out, and it was very dramatic, and he was coughing like he was going to die, and he had a towel around him. And then they brought him down to the stage, and he kind of sat on the stage for the next half an hour. Like, I get it. I think it is real. I do think he can hold his breath that long. But he needed 30 minutes to recoup. So he was on the side of the stage answering questions, trying to do a little magic trick. And I realized at that point that I think that was like the big trick of the whole night. And it was cool, but I don't know. Nothing amazing. And then he did one more trick at the end, which was a very basic magic trick where you pull out a guy from the crowd, take a bill and rip it in half. And again, I don't want to ruin all of it. And then he's like, all right, thanks for coming. Good night. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't feel engaged for 1 minute of that show. I really, maybe once, twice, I got a little wild, like, oh, cool. Other than that, boring. He's, for such a show, like, there were no theatrics. There was nothing. You go see Shin Lin, there's theatrics, there's smoke, there's music, there's reveals, there's wow, ooh, nah, ee. That's what you want. Even Copperfield was like that. I went to see Copperfield years ago. There was theatrics involved. It was a showman. He did not feel like a showman. He's kind of odd anyway. Maybe that's why he's never had a show in Vegas. He's always been that bland, like, hey, you guys want to see a magic trick? Like, that doesn't work on a stage for 2 hours. It just didn't. Sorry. I really like the guy. I really love his magic. I'll continue, but I would not recommend this show to anybody. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 3.6, which is really, really low for me. Really low. And I'm usually a sucker. If I'm entertained a little, I'll get a 6 or 7 out of 10. I didn't like it, and I was mad. I was honestly mad that I chose him over the Shaq event, over Rod Stewart, over other things that were going on. I chose you, David Blaine, and you let me down. You really did. And it bothered me, and it's definitely affecting the score. But you just didn't bring it. You didn't bring anything. There was nothing new. There was nothing amazing. And for that, I'm going to give you that kind of score. You know, I hate doing it because he seems like a really talented guy, but that's where I feel. So thanks for listening. If you made it this far, leave your comments. If you saw the show, I'm really curious to what you thought. If we were just completely disconnected or you kind of felt the same thing. It just wasn't that good. Would love to hear it. I'm sure I'll get the David Blaine loyalists ripping me a new asshole, but I don't care. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the next show. Take care. Bye-bye.